Hello and welcome to this exciting episode of the 𝗖𝗚𝘀𝗃 podcast. And today we're with a man who releases movies like he's releasing songs. He's sort of like the musician of movies. Cosmas 𝗏𝗏. Cosmas 𝗏𝗏, welcome to the 𝗖𝗚𝗃𝗃 podcast.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to also have you here.
Yes, sir.
But to start with, what would people be surprised to learn about you? Something that is not out there. And when people learn about it, they'll be very surprised.
That I do acrobatics.
Acrobatics.
Yes.
Interesting. But you have the body for, I think, for acrobatics.
I've seen a lot of people with bodies that can do the same. So sometimes we judge the book by its cover. Yeah, but acrobatics. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. To start our conversation, I'd like you to take us a little bit back, into your story and how you found yourself in the movie industry, being an actor, now a producer, now making movies. But how did you get started?
So I'm in grade 7 and a very notorious boy in class because people believed because I spoke a lot, I was a very well spoken, I would act. So my late director, Darius Lombe, comes in the school. They're moving class to class, inviting people to join drama. Then they reach our class. My friends point at me, who you? No. So they say, when you knock off, come back at 14 to come and see what happens at drama. Because back in the day, drama was just like a thing, one of those things, really.
Yeah.
So we went back at 14 hours. I saw people, because in a creative like it wasn't that serious.
Mnemonika.
Nazanga vya nandi. Balesa bakulu. So first day yapita. Second day nishinda imyafya mungu. Kuna ninjisheko. And until one day, my director's friend says, this boy has been asking a lot. Why can't you
Give him a chance.
give him a chance? Yama. Na shida landafye line inga imofi. And everybody was clapping. And the friend said, this is playhouse material. That is how my journey began. From that moment on, I never, ever looked back at the decision I made or this discovery I made upon myself.
Did you decide from then on that you're going to make acting something you're going to make a living out of? Did you dream about, okay, let me go to college or let me go to university and go and study acting, or just right off the bat you say, I'm just going to be an actor and make money off acting?
On the contrary, I'd always wanted to be a journalist.
Okay. I'm Tolangani. Who's your favorite journalist in Zambia?
In Zambia?
Yeah.
I don't even have to think twice.
I know. Okay, I know some of them there. Men could be your friends, but go on. Okay, my reporter man bang.
Well, he used to be. I don't know if he still does. Brian.
ZMBC News.
And a few colleagues that are doing the most now who are journalists. Like I could mention names: Tom Njogu, Max Gone, a lot of colleagues, Chichi Daisy, but Stefan's a journalist. Just So when I discovered that I could act, slowly this began to change my career path or what I really needed to do. And when I found out that journalists but I always wanted to be a teacher, even before journalism.
A fundisha?
Yes.
Okay. What's up?
Childhood. From childhood, I just wanted to be a teacher. I didn't really know that, but I knew I would be an English teacher because I was very well articulated, right? So when I realized that teachers wake up every day at 5, going to bed late, making some plans. I was like, and because I'm not a morning person, I was like, this is not my calling. Then I went on to journalism, and then things just didn't go as planned. Not necessarily that I tried. Of course, I did try at Diamond TV, Diamond TV presenter search when it was just starting.
Okay. You tried there.
I didn't better on application. I say, I don't tell you about some bang point. I don't think about what is something in English, but certain that in itself was a blessing in disguise, because if I pursued that journey, I would never maybe have made it as far as I have. And I don't regret. I don't even feel bad anymore about it, because certain things happen to us so that we can actually be channeled in the right path. And after I realized that I think I'm just called to be a creative, an actor, I chose to begin to understand a few more dynamics to the conversation. Not just being an actor, learning how to write, direct. Producing came as a by the way thing, because it came by, not by choice, but because out of options. You're the only guy with a vision. You try and approach a few producers in there, they will not believe in the dream. So come back saving up for to start on the saving. I don't know one benefit. You want to go really making things, Yeah. That's how come I found myself here.
All right. Now, since you made that decision, has it been able to, or maybe my question should be, have you made money out of, your acting career? Do you think you've made money out of your acting career?
I've made enough connections. Okay. I've made necessary connections. I have found sustainability. We are not where we're supposed to be really, but we're getting there. So the few coins that I've come across have made us survive up to this far. I can tell you that I've never worked in Kuma industry. I've never had a job for reporting every single day that was not art related. So I've sustained myself. I've found sustainability through art. So it's not enough really. We're praying to get to better spaces, but I think it's been sustaining us.
So to a young person, right out of school, and they want to get into their acting career, what do you know now that you wish you would have told you wish that you had known when you are getting into the acting career?
In rooms where you're not known, do not think exploitation is a bad thing.
What do you mean by that?
So, for certain connections, for certain platforms, a lot of people are going to take advantage of you. But in the moment, there's two things at play. They're benefiting, really, but they're giving you an opportunity that is giving you the opportunity to be seen. For people to poach for new talent because they've seen you somewhere. Right? The process of becoming is not a phase where you demand. Because if you don't, people will withdraw, and then you will not be getting as much as you're supposed to. What I mean by that, umuntu feel sharp, shatete say evi aba kweteka shorty. Then 50 pounding and feel sharp. Right? But ngana wamba ko jani, wakabati wike sope for makokwa so kaba abantu nangwa 100. That in itself is a blessing, even if they're paying you or not. When 100 people see you, you have told your story to 100 people. So from the 100, though, if your story is unique enough or interesting enough, they'll be able to share it with other people. And they'll say, there's a guy this side. In my first year of acting in 2010, my name had spread across the theater circles in schools hey, there's like a boy from Harimwanga, Nikakari, because they'd seen me perform at a zonal festival, right? And that began to build a name for myself because I was not money driven. I was not focused on what opportunities come with. I was focused on delivering to the best of my ability so that anybody that says there's potential here.
Now, one of the characters that I think I personally came to learn about,
Of course.
a good show that probably a lot of people watching this know about. Tell us about how you found yourself in that show.
It's an interesting story, really. I'll take you a bit back. In 2016, there's auditions from food. 2016, 2017. So, at Lusaka Players, they were auditioning online. Then I failed to audition. Just to apply, rather. They were not auditioning online. They were applying online. Then my young sister comes and says, naenda kuma audition yaku August. Yapa Players. Yaja, ati mfuti. I tried. Vinani vuta. No, ngene sana na bali 𝗓𝗴'𝘃𝗃𝗄𝗏 na kwe kuja ungalembesa. Okay. That's how she gave me transport money. But no, following day, I went to a friend of mine. He gave me a 5 kwacha and got on the bus to town. Then my young sister gave me transport from town to
Playhouse.
Yes, Civic Center.
Yeah.
So I walked to Playhouse. I actually walked from town because I didn't have transport money to go back home. So I'm very. And if I'm when I did the audition, less than 30 seconds, they said, it's okay. Cut. I'm like, no, I've not gotten to the best part. They were like, no, that's fine. We can do that. That's how I got myself the 𝗓𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗄𝗏 character in 𝗏𝗏𝘶𝗃𝗃.
Okay.
Fast forward, because I was not money driven again, I heard a lot of people feed me down thoughts to say, for the role that you did, you should have gotten money, like a lot of money. I look at myself, I'm just a boy from the ghetto with just nothing but a talent. And then I know that I'm good. I know my spirit tells me that, Cosmas, it's not about the money now. It's about the opportunity. So I never listened to what people said. In that moment, I almost approached Boma because being young, but God has always sustained me in such a way that certain things that I can even say, I hold back. Maybe some conversation just comes between when I'm about to mention something, then something comes about. And then in that moment you even begin to think through. So if I say this, maybe it would have actually been. It's a good thing that it didn't happen. Someone saw me in 𝗏𝗏𝘃𝗃𝗄𝗏 and they called Mr. Frank and said, about that film, that the 𝗏𝗏𝘃𝗃𝗄𝗏 film that you're pitching to us, if you include this boy, we'll give you the thing, the season. So this was not even a Zambian. She's someone from Kenya who was working in the management or on the channel, right? So that's how Mr. Frank reached out and said, I have 2 characters. Which one would you want? Then I explained the 𝗓𝗏𝘃𝗃𝗄𝗏 character and he explained the 𝗏𝒾 character. And because I knew I would play both to an extent where I knew I would have actually executed. But I told him, I gave back the ball to him because he knows better. Being the supreme authority, the creative visionary, he picked the 𝗏𝒾 character for me. And then it was a character in development, a work in progress, but we eventually landed ourselves on a very better spot to a household name.
Definitely. It's a character that personally I think had succeeded very well.
Yeah.
Cosmas. I'd like you to dive a little bit about talking about some of the challenges that you had faced in your journey, those that are, quote unquote, very big, and how you were able to, overcome that and be able to be where you are today?
Well, I think it's a very unique story of mine, really, because I never looked at challenges as challenges. And after a few years on my story, I realized that, oh gosh, those were actually challenges. Because I never, for a moment, I never thought or felt like, 𝗖𝗀𝘀𝗽𝗂𝘄𝗃. No, I never did. So when people deny me opportunities, I just believe that it's not just meant for me. Challenges that are still there even now is people believing in our craft. Because for majority of the people, they judge what they can see. It's the physical appearance of an individual. But ine nanevo Goliath mkati and a giant.
Okay.
Okay. You cannot see what I carry until you see the works, you see the result. So for majority of the people I've been around, valanda ati kwaliwo kunyantirirana, kwali bashani, but I performed to the best of my ability, that even those that were supposed to step on me felt they needed me, felt the need to have me part of them, because I've always thrived to be an asset more than a liability.
How did you arrive at, being your own producer, like making your own movies? How did you get that decision, moving from an actor to like, oh yeah, I'm having this set of movies that I'm releasing out to the public?
I've always been a believer, and being a believer of becoming requires for you to think outside the box, to always think, what if this happened? What would happen if one day we woke up and found that takuli mbali, takuli zambezi magic? What would we do? Because we would be stupid to say that tupanga payama and kanyama platforms. We'd be ungrateful. But what if one day someone just woke up and said, oh, zambezi magic na bashta. So you want some tenants cooking, and then whenever plan munganda. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've always loved to think ahead. So that was a push that felt like hence the need to, but also to just change the narrative, to be part of the people on the table for decision making. I've been a follower. They say you can never lead if you've never followed. I've been a follower for a number of years, and because I followed, I got a bit of leadership skills and ideas. And being a natural born leader, I realized that my experiences have taught me so much, and they're adding on to what already exists in me. So that's why I felt, and also I felt like I can contribute to the arts fraternity, the industry, because majority of the premieres I attended were watched by fellow filmmakers. So I felt like if we reapproach this with having the actual people from communities, the viewers themselves come to watch our films, they would be the very first people to market them. The next time they hear that Cosmas is having a screening, they will show up because they know. You see? And we've taken another bet now, that because we've made films that people have appreciated, we're now trying to see if they've believed in us so much that we can actually sell tickets without making a trade.
Okay. How much does it cost you to make a movie, for example, the 𝗖𝗀𝘀𝗽𝗶𝗿 feature film? Like, just what's your production budget like?
Well, I have friends who are friends,
Okay.
So 90% of the time, we're all just doing each other favors. Like, show up for me or show up for you. That sort of thing. And it happens in the music industry. Baadaye barayipera fyama feature, you know, guys achafana mnankwa album. Tamu lipitapo na hiyo nsala yako studio. Why can't we do the same? Why can't we collaborate? So my budgets should be over $1 million and stuff like that. But they don't, because I've built good networks and relationships, people show up for me. So of course, expenses that need to be footed like gas, and I'm not friends with filling stations. I'm not friends with big companies. You know what I mean? All those locations and stuff like that, costumes. Now we have colleagues and friends that come on board. Like now we are Zooks. Zooks brands and prints all my tickets, and you know, I've never even known how much a ticket costs because of the networks and relationships we've built. So I wouldn't really put a price to them. But for 𝗖𝗀𝗽𝗶𝗿, we spent about 800 because it was like our second movie, and we had people that came through for us. Yeah.
Talking about you know, somebody showing up for you and you show up for them. Have you been in a situation where you needed somebody to show up for you, but maybe in a way you had bent that bridge, and how did you resolve that?
Well, there's so much I can say, so much bad things I can say about myself.
But stick to the good ones, please.
Of course, all of us have a side of ourselves that just doesn't appeal to people. But I'm grateful that God has given me a spirit of realizing whenever I make a mistake, I'm going to approach you and apologize, because no one knows what tomorrow holds. And if we're enemies when we were once friends, I would need something that only you have in the world. I know practicalities of that are somewhat impossibilities, but there's just always one moment when such a thing happens and you're in a desperate situation. So I believe in making peace. There's been moments when colleagues of mine never showed up for me. I understand life happens to all of us. So we would also be unfair to each other if we just think this guy just didn't want to show up for me. Maybe in that moment, they genuinely just didn't have transport. Or genuinely they were not, or they were down on their luck, you know? Oh, so I have all these possibilities in situations that I always just wear myself in and just put myself in people's situations. That's all right.
In and Without the President did the handshake at the previous awards inspire that movie, and you know, you just exuded so much confidence when you are speaking. Did you get to think, you know, just tell us about that moment, you know, speaking before the head of state, the head of the Zambian government, of course, the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. How, you know, that moment, tell us about that moment.
Well, like I told you when we were offline, I said much of the things that happened to me are spiritual. And God has blessed me to prepare me for moments I've never seen, to prepare me for times when I will need to use the wisdom that He's blessed me with to get to the next point. And Act Without the President has been in existence, and it's inspired by presidents.
Which president?
I don't want to be specific.
Who the president?
The presidents.
Oh, we shall see.
Traits of whatever presidents human beings do, really. Yeah, but in our case, a president. You know what happens when the cameras switch off? What happens when, but also how a world would be without a president, like a country would really be without a president. So when I met him, it was my first time. He's the second president I'm meeting in my life.
It was the first?
His Excellency. the late President Edgar Lungu. He was a friend who we could even chat, like on a personal level.
And like on WhatsApp, like,
Of course,
they're all sending you, like,
I know, we shine. And tomorrow is my birthday. Then he sends me a video of a woman, which chan watermelon, watiramo, spirits like gin, and then the woman eats it, and then now she gets drunk on her birthday, and then he says, "That's how you need to celebrate your birthday."
Okay.
Yeah, he was a good friend. So when I met our current president, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what was gonna come of me, but I felt the need to put out necessary conversations. Majority of us are afraid to speak on politics, are afraid to talk about politicians, are afraid to talk about current state of being in our state of things in our country. But me, I'm cut from a different cloth, and I know. So the opportunity to speak sense should really count, because after that, people begin to look at you differently. It's make believe, but also it's putting out necessary conversations for people. Yeah.
That moment, what's your biggest lesson from there?
From there, luck is a matter of preparation meeting an opportunity. So I had already been prepared for that moment. And because I fulfilled whatever promises the Bible gives us, where you wine and dine with kings and queens, and your talent shall put you before great men, I really had to speak for myself. And there's this notion that a lot of people have, let your work speak for you. As the works are speaking for me, I need to speak for them. Because people no longer speak good, or people no longer represent us. People no longer, there's just a few people that will genuinely carry your vision and speak good about it. But now, so my biggest takeaway from that moment was that you can become, but also learn to use opportunities wisely. Because in that moment, if I spoke nonsense, the whole country would have looked at me with a different eye, or would have been looking at me with a different. But now, everybody kept shaking my hand like it was me who spoke sense. The highlight of the whole award was that very moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think just being ready for moments and speaking sense.
You said you're not afraid to, speak about politics.
No, I'm not.
And
I'm above politics.
the socio-economic, status of our country, and it's something very touchy when, entertainers, artists, actors get to speak on these things. Currently, there's this thing in Zambia of, when another man, gives you a handshake, somehow your parts, your members, disappear. What do you make of the recent incident in Chingola where, see a woman was, mob justice, where she was killed?
It's a primitive way of looking at things. It's a very backward reasoning kind of approach. And we can see the people that are being killed for being accused, right? But have we seen the very people who've lost even just one person witnessing that? It's sad, because when we should be discussing national development or progress or empowering each other, there's people that are targeting individuals and wanting to make them look bad. 𝗖𝗀𝘀𝗽𝗶𝗿𝗄 ones. That's as far as my understanding goes. It's either it's a generational case. It's a primitive way of reasoning. It's a primitive way of living. We cannot, and I say this with no regard for anybody who thinks taking the law in their own hands is really solving the problem. It's a stupid way of ever sorting issues. Of course, our security is not that swift, right? You're going to have thieves break into your house. Cops will not show up in 5 minutes then, and then bwefwebekana kuma compound uku nga yachitikira pakati kwa kanyama pakati pachivolya tabakapasangena pang'anda, but we must learn to love each other. We must learn to look out for each other. Let's get to the root cause. Let's get to the reason why there's that problem at that particular moment. Because if tongwebet nindoshi, we never even ask kuingira pove mwambo kumuntu, and we're going to lose so many lives. Either nombati balupwana bena balanda mwatwepaira omuntu wesu never tulemingirira, baya kunganga, and those things really exist because mwambo kufa one on a thing that could have just taken dialogue. I'm not a supporter of such.
Off the cameras, you are a husband.
Oh yeah, serious.
How did you get to, reconcile, being a husband and working in an industry that, let's just cut it. I think you meet so many women, really. Being in your space, as an actor, you meet so many of them. So how do you, reconcile that and just, keep your sanity?
Well, I would be breaking the bro code if I said a lot of things about my friend. But I preserve myself for the well-being of everybody that looks up to me. Being a breadwinner, inenga narifwira abantu abengi kubachula. So nga narirwere, a lot of things will be on pause. I'm on a very fast track of achieving. I'm in a fast lane after 8 years of preparing myself. Between now and the next 10 years, I have goals that I need to accomplish. So if I distract myself, it changes how those goals are achieved. If I succumb to certain seductions, it changes how everything else works for me. Of course, I have my own flaws and my issues, but I really don't wanna attach myself to issues to do with infidelity, succumb to those, because at the end of the day, my reputation is important for me, for my image, and my health is important for my children.
That's no, that's a good perspective to hear. A man speak in that manner. Hope you're not like clenching your fists when saying that. No, let him kill. Watch it. This thing. Well, like comment. Cosmas.
Well, marriage saved me, and marrying, a lot of people say, "Why did you marry young?" But how old? There's some people used to marry at 7 years.
Yeah. How did it serve you?
From a lot of things. A lot of people won't approach you because you're married.
Okay.
A lot of girls will not come in your DM because you're married. It just served me if I saw how my friends my age would change women. I saw my friends my age who were not even married would move from Angela to Mirika, and when they're doing that, I'm taking care of my children. Till I'm 105. You know?
Yeah.
So it really saved me from all that unnecessary drama.
So you advise other young men to marry young and early like you?
No. I don't advise people to marry. I advise people to to marry right. Marry right. If you can envision your future, you know that ngawaleta mwana wawe nepanga ndataka alipo ensala. Of course, there will be days when it will be hard, but even on your toughest of days, kasaka kavunga fika kava upafie na utumalasha na saladi na tomato. Above everything, just make sure that you can take care of her lineage. You need to be sane. It doesn't really matter how old you are, because maturity approaches us at different ages. But also make sure you're of age. Marriage comes with a lot of pressure. You would have to start living in with someone who's grown up her entire life. Uko bamuishi bamutumpika foro bamutemoro bamuchitashan, you know. You have to take in all that comes with them and learn with it. It could be traumatizing, it could be overwhelming, it could be, but in the long run, if you chose the right partner, you navigate your lives through to a point where you would have built on the 6 stages of marriage.
Maybe stages, but
I'm not going to tell you the stages. You're not married.
Yeah, okay. When I marry, I'll come to you.
Come.
Yeah, but let's go back to your movie.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever envision your movies getting on Netflix? Because right now, I saw one comment, when I was going through, I think it's one of the, your movies, and I think pretty much other movies. So this, Facebook just, asked randomly, and they said, was it so difficult to access, Zambian movies? Do you ever envision your movies getting on Netflix?
I do, but that's not my area of focus for now. When the opportunities come, they should find us working.
Okay.
We've tried in the background to reach out to a lot of different distributors, but they never really give us the attention we need. But should the passion burn because there's no opportunity? No. We're depriving ourselves of the chances to be creating for the small crowd that can manage to get to the premieres or the screenings. So that same crowd, wande tukakumanya hapo fyo muntu wako but alanda urapanga amafilmu yengi sana ayasuma nalishima kwa baso, but also we need to make good films that are going to attract the very people that are running away from us. Why? Because maybe they've not just built enough trust and belief in us. When that moment comes, they will come knocking on us, and then they'll work on our terms.
So if, let's say there's a producer, a movie's out, and you're not on the popular, satellite networks, how do you distribute your movie?
Nifine tupanga nga twashita premiere kukwatako tuma screenings around. So we do a country tour, and then take like my film Mwezukanji is on Inuit, which is a local streaming platform where people can stream.
That's where I saw that comment actually.
Yes. So it's just 20 kwacha. People that need to watch the film can go to Inuit and watch. So it's part of my plan to have films on platforms that are easily accessible to people like Inuit. But also, like I've said, when the time comes, I, the Lord your God, will make it happen.
Okay.
When the time is right.
One of you seem to be a man of faith.
Too much right.
I should say. Now, as we get to conclude our conversation, you'd mentioned later on that you came out of the ghetto, he's somebody, perhaps they're in a situation that you are in, when starting out, what is your word of encouragement to them, and what would you ask them, to avoid? Because sometimes coming out of certain places, sad to say, but other people end up wasted, but you survived that, maybe because of actively being involved in something like movie acting, in production. But just speak to that.
Well, quite frankly, failing to plan is planning to fail. When you're in an environment that gives you opportunities to learn new things, envision yourself doing it one day. So as you prepare yourself, make sure you build necessary networks, your line of contact, your people next to you, people within you, with you, can help you navigate to, or get to the next stage. So if you don't believe and you're out there watching, I could tell you that start from where you are. Empower yourself with the knowledge. If you don't have people that inspire you, there's YouTube, there's a lot of AI platforms now where you can ask questions about whatever it is that you want to pursue and stuff like that. And when that is happening, make sure that you learn, invest in your craft, your talent, and let it work out for you, because ultimately you're going to need your talent or your craft to put food on your table. Area number wa guy panga fete alakita amana beta file panga sense uyo maron conduct masosha ari ya kuinvest ari ya mkusambirira farming ari ni actor mul because maybe it's delaying, but also cling to one thing. Don't be a jack of all trades. I first began with acting, then developed interest for writing, directing, but my major has been acting. Even you know me as an actor before knowing me as a writer or director, So that passion should fuel your next diverse path.
The movie industry, I should think, in America is called Hollywood. In India, it's called Bollywood. What do we call it in Zambia?
The Zambian film industry. But we don't know abali abaleta amashina bakapanganga bapanga.
But you're the people to make it. You're the people in the industry.
What we tell the Zambian film industry, which has been in its infant stages since I was a kid. So we hope that our contribution is going to be impactful, and it's gonna leave a mark so much that people would get what we were calling the industry and choose to make it the name for the industry.
All right. I'll ask the set director to bring us the mystery bottles. But as he's doing that, I'd like you to tell me. I'd like you to tell us about who are your favorite, characters on TV while growing up. That inspired you to say, okay, I think,
ninakula chemutu. Ninakula chemutu. Nalikula fyo mutwe.
Okay.
But had Zambians?
Yeah, we could do Zambia. We could do
well, for the international spaces, Idris Elba.
Okay.
He's my guy. Idris Elba is my guy, and then now Fiashiba Denzel. But
okay.
For the Zambian spaces, Denzel gonna be 𝗏𝗏 Piri is actually in a night without the president.
Okay.
And he's fire, and it was an honor working with him because he's a legend that I've always known. Yeah. Then Myself? Myself, because I'm a huge fan of characters I've made. Yes. This man, what's his name? 𝗬𝗚𝘀𝗽𝗶𝗿 is a veteran actor. Yeah, I could name. It's five. 𝗬𝗚𝘀𝗽𝗶, Denzel, Henry BJ, was myself. 𝗬𝗚𝘀𝗽𝗶, yes.
But how would you still maintain humility when working with legends? And were you born when this drink was made?
Yes, I was.
You were born?
Yes, I was.
What do you remember about it?
Super Mario, super. That guy in the blue shirt cannot read it.
Jay-Z.
𝗪𝗀𝘀𝗽𝗋.
Well, as we just close, speak to reconciling working with the legend. You watch them on TV, and then next moment somebody's right next to you.
Yes.
I'm never know what that, but I'm get the way, no.
And then he's giving me and it was unique for me because I'm looking at this man with all his accolades. Then he comes to me, oh, my director, I think here, sorry, director, forgive me, I want to, I'm feeling like, even now, he's gonna call me and say, my director, when are we meeting to have a meeting to just discuss one or two things? Okay, no problem. He understands professionalism and it makes me feel like, I think in 𝗵𝗱𝗀𝗃 should have been walking in their shoes, because this amount of respect really just changes how I perceive elders and him inclusive.
Alright, your last words of encouragement. 𝗭𝗺𝗃𝗱𝗃
30th of May, ladies and gentlemen, we premiere A Night Without the President at 𝗬𝗚 Cinemas. We don't have a trailer yet, but the tickets are only going at 300 kwacha for ordinary and 500 kwacha for VIP. VIPs have their own cinema, and if we ever get on a finat kwatafe ama cinema yesu, even VIPs can buy ordinary tickets. Sana. But I should encourage you to keep on. Platforms like these give an opportunity to people out there to learn one or two things about the people they just never have the opportunity to meet every single day. And your line of questioning is encouraging. Thank you very much for making it comfortable for me. I didn't even need to understand what the podcast is all about, but we are flowing, and now we are here until the very end. So thank you very much.
No, thank you so much, Cosmas. I think it's a gentleman that will turn some things for me to talk about here.
You owe me.
Yeah, definitely. I know. I owe this gentleman, but just your humility, your foresight, just your grit.
Yes,
is something that you see there. Yeah, it's very inspiring.
Thank you very much.
So thank you for coming to this episode of the 𝗵𝗱𝗃 podcast. And when we were recording this podcast, we're like at 53 subscribers. But we do it because we want to bring inspiring conversations like this to people who are also dreaming and envisioning to be like somebody like him. Not exactly, but you can pick some lessons
better than me, actually,
from him and build on. So these are pioneers, and they've done something about the industry. There are other people who would come and build up on that industry. So thank you so much, Cosmas.
Thank you very much.
We wish you all the best in the new movie. We're suddenly coming to watch that movie.
Tickets?
A Night with the President. We got 5 tickets.
Oh,
5 tickets. Yeah. Thank you.
A Night Without the President.
5 tickets.
Yes.
Me, I want to be in both.
Abakombo mali ambo kushitama VIP. Chilali live VIP. Not bali abakali abashaleseka bali. Balifye beka ba tempie.
Yeah.
Apanomba abantu balaseka.
But I like you to test that thing. Does it still taste like tell me about the test.
Balifunyako tuliotuma straw.
Shitumona pa market this time.
No, instead of enough, say ishta tumana ndu ngoma yewi. bakese bakona basponsa kusha okumwa nti aba bantu
bali mwiponta
bayamba okulundako chocolate yo. I think it's an improved version. Ili yakana yalekwata sana tuliotuma neshalirira sana but nabamba okutonkola yikali.
Alright, thank you so much. We got to close it off here. My name is 𝗖𝗴'𝘂𝗃𝗄𝗃. See you on the next episode. Thank you.